I agree, not all illegal things are unjust. I'm asking, in this case, is this illegal action by the Trump administration just or unjust? And you said it was just for the Trump administration to do an illegal deportation.
Now,
I'm going to ask you why. I'm going to ask you why.
Right, let me answer that.
Pisco still insists on dying on this hill that is defending Abrego Garcia and the deportation of Abrego Garcia. It's not just Pisco, obviously. It's all these lefties. They still insist. They still gotta fight for this guy. They're not giving it up. They're not letting it go. So let's see how Pisco does when he debates fellow lawyer Will Chamberlain on this topic on the Timcast.
Either of you who wants to start, was the deportation just or unjust?
It was unjust. It was illegal. Do you think that
those aren't synonyms?
Wait, so
those don't mean the same
I understand that, but in this context, do you think it was just for the Trump administration to do an illegal deportation? Yes or no?
I mean, in these circumstances, the outcome was just.
I'm asking if the deportation, if you think.
Well, I mean, it was mistaken, so they conceded that it's a mistake, right?
So was it just to do a mistaken illegal deportation?
I mean, the actual substantive outcome here is a just outcome. It's like, I don't want the administration.
Whether the outcome was just or not, is the action, the mistaken, in your words, mistaken illegal deportation just or not?
It's mildly unjust. I actually.
So you actually agree.
So to be clear, the resolution be
you actually agree that it was unjust. To be clear, everyone here agrees it was unjust.
No.
Well, okay. So Tim, do you think that the deportation was just to do an illegal action?
See, what you're doing right there is I'm just going to say, that's not debating. To load the question with, I presume it was illegal first, now answer.
Do you agree it was illegal?
When did you start beating your wife?
Well, do you agree it was illegal? What's loaded about that?
So the issue is it a crime to make a mistake?
Not a crime. Was it illegal? Was it illegal, yes or no?
No.
9 justices on the Supreme Court unanimously, Will and I, both lawyers, will tell you it was illegal. Will, it was obviously illegal.
No, it was an illegal deportation.
It was an illegal deportation.
So hold on. You're saying that it was illegal because the Supreme Court said it was?
No.
It's emphatically the province and duty of the Judicial Department to say what the law is. That's Marbury.
Does the Alien Enemies Act supersede...
He wasn't sued under the Alien Enemies Act. Or he wasn't deported under the Alien Enemies Act.
Stephen Miller claims he was.
No, he absolutely wasn't. He's not a Venezuelan. The proclamation for the Alien Enemies Act only applies to Venezuelans.
Is that true?
Yes, that's true.
Say again.
Does the Alien Enemies Act apply to El Salvador?
The proclamation issued by the president only to Tren de Aragua members who are Venezuelans, by its terms, the proclamation by its terms, even assuming it were legal, would not apply to them.
Yeah, this is not an Alien Enemies Act question.
So the question is, do you agree it was illegal?
If the argument is the Supreme Court said it was illegal and that's your basis for it, then I agree with you, yes.
Okay. Do you agree with the president or the executive department?
The thing is, everybody agrees it's illegal.
Well, just to be clear.
No, I believe it was an administrative error. And the issue is we're talking about the semantics of what it means to be illegal, right? So is it illegal to smoke pot? Yes. Is it unjust? No. People can smoke pot if they fucking want.
Okay, so that's why I'm asking you, first, if it's illegal. Now you agree it is illegal. Fair, right?
In the context of which, so the first thing I was trying to do was understand your view and how you're viewing what illegal means. You're saying, as a subject of law, as the Supreme Court has ruled it, we all agree the Supreme Court did in fact say it was illegal.
Correct.
Agreed.
Okay, so if it's the case that you think that this deportation was illegal, do you think it was just for the Trump administration to do an illegal deportation?
Yes.
Okay.
Just like I think it's just for someone to smoke pot.
Okay, so if they did the same thing to a U.S. citizen, though, obviously you'd think it's unjust.
Yes.
Okay. If they killed Kilmar Abrego Garcia, would you think it's unjust?
Yes.
Why's that?
Killing people is...
What kind of question is that, though? Well, if they would have killed him, would it have been just? Well, first of all, context is everything. If Abrego Garcia would have started attacking them and then they had to take him out in self-defense or something like that, well, then, yeah, you could argue that's just. However, if, ICE just knocked on his door, he opened it up, oh, hello, ICE officer, and then they just freaking blasted him away, well, yeah, that you could argue that might be unjust, yeah, you know. But what kind of question is this? Pisco's problem is that he was here, Abrego Garcia was here illegally. He is not a legal citizen. So I don't know why he's bringing up legal citizens and such. That's not the case with Abrego Garcia. Yes, they conceded that it was a mistake, but the outcomes would have been the same no matter what. What does he want? What does he want them to do? Have them come bring him back over here and then just for us to ship him right back over. Yeah, and also too, like, it's under Bukele's jurisdiction now. I'm like, imagine wanting to go through all this work to negotiate something with Bukele or something just to bring him back over here. Like, and for what? Like, why is this worth it?
One of the worst crimes, in fact.
Okay, so
He did. Obama killed 4 American citizens. We fact-checked this.
wait, but you thought that was wrong, right?
Absolutely.
So then so if it's the case that you thought that was wrong, wouldn't it be wrong, for example, to put Mabrego Garcia in prison for the rest of his life without an opportunity to like have a case?
No.
Okay.
You see, so let me try this real quick. You're trying to equate, say, Barack Obama, right? He extrajudicially assassinated a 16-year-old kid without charge or trial. I mean, if a dude cracks a grandma over the head with a baseball bat and kills her, I say lock that guy up. If a guy accidentally runs a woman over, then we say there could be negligent homicide. There's degrees of whether or not the crime is bad. Is it justice in some circumstances and not when a crime is... Not all crimes are solved in the same way.
I'm not alleging that it's a crime.
They all rise to the same level of retaliation.
I'm not alleging that it's a crime. I'm saying it's illegal, and the Supreme Court found that. And right now, what we have, this is what the Trump cult does to you. This is what the Trump cult does to you.
What's with the ad hominem?
So this is what it does to you. You are defending an illegal deportation of a human being who has the right to have his case heard. The basic essence of due process.
Funny thing is, he actually,
I mean, denied of anybody, it will be denied of you in the course of time.
No, it won't. He's not a citizen.
So
I mean, if he wants to go down this route about cults, I could just turn it around and be like, well, you're the freaking anti-Trump cult. You're the TDS cult, where you're dying on this hill. You're fighting to the death on this hill for a non-legal citizen MS-13 gang member. And he keeps bringing up the due process thing. It sounds like he had due process. He had his days in court, and there is evidence that he is MS-13, and a bunch of evidence. It's not just one thing. It's not just the whole Chicago Bulls or whatever jersey that they wear that they said. I believe it was the Bulls jersey. It's like, well, he just wears a jersey and therefore, oh, he has tattoos and therefore. Like, no, it's a bunch of things put together that's like, yeah, it looks like he's MS-13. So this whole like due process thing, it's kind of nonsense. And that in terms of like, oh, did he get it or not? It sounds like he did. It sounds like they had a pretty solid case against him.
So if
and he was previously adjudicated as an MS-13 gang member.
That's false. And you brought it to him.
So there was a finding that he was an MS-13.
No, so
absolutely.
You brought up collateral estoppel, didn't you?
Yeah. So he'll be stopped from challenging.
So of course not. Of course not. So this. So I know, because I have to say a lot of these lawyers like file shipwrecked, and they get shipwrecked as a lawyer, and it's garbage. And the truth is there is no collateral estoppel here. What is the finding that the bond court hearing made?
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. I have a question.
Yeah.
If someone does something illegal, is that just or unjust?
It's sometimes unjust, sometimes just. It depends.
If someone does something illegal, should they always be held under? No. Okay, so we agree that the real question here is not whether it's just or unjust, whether we think the penalty should be severe or not.
No. So I agree. Not all illegal things are unjust. I'm asking, in this case, is this illegal action by the Trump administration just or unjust? And you said it was just for the Trump administration to do an illegal deportation.
Now, I'm
going to ask you why. I'm going to ask you why.
Right. Let me answer that. So the first thing I got to say is, you keep loading this as though illegal is the pretext by which something would be just or unjust, which is why I asked you, is if something is illegal, is it just or unjust?
It can be. It depends.
Then you don't need to say, am I okay? Why am I okay with Trump doing something illegal? The question is the deportation.
No, I do need it, because I think as a stand.
Before Pisco explains himself, yeah, I mean, if Pisco himself concedes that not everything that's illegal is just or unjust, okay, well then this just becomes a matter of opinion, don't you think? And so then why do we have to talk about this legality thing? Because Pisco started off by saying this was unjust. Okay, that's his opinion. Temple is saying, well, it is just. Okay, well now it just seems like we're getting to preferences and opinions.
Right? There's a threshold here that in the main, when the government does something illegal, we're going to presume it's unjust unless you can reach some threshold. Well, think about it, right? So if this can't just be a game of we let the government do whatever we want to people we don't like. We're fearful of the government wielding power in the main.
So what I've noticed is that the left wing are starting to adopt our talking points. So what they've taken is our talking points under the Biden regime, even under the first Trump regime. And now they're starting to use it against us pretty much. Well, if we let the government have all this power, but don't let them fool you. They're not coming from a place of principle or like morality that they have. This is what they believe in and such. It's really the TDS talking. And as we get to near the end of it, I'll explain why.
Because of structural reasons. There's a reason, there's a reason, for example, you believe that someone who's accused, for example, of should be given a trial, correct?
Yes.
Okay, why is it that, why do you think that someone who's so horrific, and if everyone agrees that this person, why should we give them a trial?
An American citizen gets a trial.
What about an illegal alien?
They don't.
So you don't think, so just to be clear, this is where we're at now. You don't think that crimes that are committed in this country by illegal immigrants, that they should have trials for those crimes?
The penalty.
No, we do have. Wait. To be honest, we do have trials for.
Hold on. So the penalty for an illegal immigrant typically is for most who cross within 2 years is expedited removal. That means their due process is an immigration officer will determine whether or not they're here legally or illegally.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about crimes. We're talking about crimes.
And yeah, so when we get someone here who like or murder somebody, why are we going to spend taxpayer dollars when the outcome is going to be you get sent out of the country no matter what happens?
Tim, so actually, a lot of times, we deal with this. We want them to be prosecuted so that they actually face a punishment instead of getting deported. So that is, we actually spend a lot of taxpayer resources on prosecuting illegal immigrants, at least in Texas.
Punishment is deportation.
But like, I just want to dwell here for a second. The Constitution says that persons in this country get trials if they are accused of a crime before they're punished. No, it does not say that. You can read the Constitution.
Let's clarify the fact. Does it say citizens or persons?
So for example, different parts of
let me ask you this though: in the case of Abrego Garcia, do you think that is a sweeping policy that's being used to deport mass amount of people, or is this
a sweeping policy?
Well, I'm just saying the pretext that we use to deport Abrego Garcia. I'm saying, do you think that is being used right now to deport a massive amount of people, or is this an isolated incident in your opinion?
I don't think it's an isolated incident. I don't think it's relevant to the question presented, which has to do with his. But I will answer it.
Well, I'm just saying, when you make an omelet, a few eggs are going to get, cracked. I'm just saying there are going to. It sucks how it is.
Just bite the bullet and say yes, it was unjust. Of course, it was unjust. We don't want the government in the main unless there's exceedingly like crazy circumstances to violate the Constitution, right?
Pisca, real quick, but do you think it's going to be used in a massive way? Or
it already is. It already is.
But who else? What other examples do we have? I know you talk about the cancer girl, but they actually were allowed to stay. So when leftists say that they were forced to leave, they chose to go with their family. They were 100% allowed to stay in America. So we didn't deport a cancer person.
If you guys are stuck in your echo chambers, and again, I think that there's some of that going on here.
Don't insult the audience like that.
So
Give me a break.
if it's that case, then you wouldn't.
Yeah, no, again, it's more projection. Again, because Pisco is speaking purely from his his Trump Derangement Syndrome here. Again, he's not speaking of a place of morality, that he has great concern, that he really doesn't want like illegal citizens deported, or he has this great concern that mistakes are being made with deportations. He's not arguing for that. He believes Trump is a dictator. He believes Trump says a lot of stupid shit, does a lot of stupid shit. Those are his own words. Doesn't really think highly of Trump as a person. He's admitted to me when we debated that if Trump were to have sent the National Guard to stop the BLM riots, he would have had a big problem with that. However, if Democrat governors would have sent the National Guard to stop the BLM riots, he would have no problem with it. All this is evidence to show that Pisco is not speaking of a place of morality or principles. He is speaking purely of TDS.
For example, that this U.S. citizen, there's a parent here. There's an opportunity that people have basic due process rights to see if, like, I don't know, an aunt wants to care for the U.S. citizen, or another parent has parental rights and the right to have custody over the parent or the child.
In the instance you're referring to, the mother requested the child.
I don't know which case. There are multiple cases of U.S. citizen deportation. One of which the mother denies that's what the outcome that she wanted. But regardless, the policy that we're talking about is with respect to people who are not citizens here. And you asked if it's like a mass policy. They're already, by the Supreme Court, again, unanimously saying that these people are entitled to due process. You guys don't think that. You guys don't think that there should be due process.
I don't think that's.
Everyone thinks they're entitled to due process. The question is what process is due, and it's extraordinarily limited in the context of legal immigration.
But Tim just said, even in the context of criminal. So Tim just said in the context of a criminal indictment, that there should not be trials for people who are here illegally. You don't agree with that?
No, I don't.
See, hold on. This is a really good example for media literacy. What he did is he is falsely framing the arguments, redirecting it. What I'm saying is, there is no trial required for a crime committed by an illegal immigrant because they'll get an expedited removal before a trial can take
You're
place.
conflating an immigration hearing, which is civil, and I agree. There's no. So you guys, don't get confused. All right, I'm gonna teach you something.
I'm not conflating anything.
Immigration law and a removal proceeding is not a criminal matter. Okay, that's different than the criminal proceeding. Yes, I agree. You don't need trials. That's why J.D. Vance is full of shit when he says that we need trials.
I gotta stop you. You are actually making a mistake. I am aware you are asking for a criminal trial for, let's say, an illegal immigrant who committed a murder. I am arguing that we will deport that person back to their home country, and then we're not going to hold a trial for him after the fact.
So wait. So you're going to take a murderer who committed a crime in this country. You're not going to subject him to punishment in this country, and you're going to send the murderer back to El Salvador just so he can cross the border again and murder someone?
Well, that's why Trump has CCOT, doesn't he?
Well, hang on. That wasn't embedded in your hypothetical there, that he would go to CCOT.
You presented information to the argument that was not previously included in it.
Which was
the
what?
The argument is an illegal immigrant here gets deported first.
Before he goes to trial for murder? Come on, guys.
How do you have a criminal trial for someone who's not in the country?
Wait, so we do, this is high priority for our government to spend money on trials protecting U.S. citizens, and it's one of the, our common things as a turn. Guess what?
Actually, hold on. Let me give a hypothetical to Tim, real quick, though, Tim. This is where I think you're wrong. I'm sorry. So, would you have rather had Laken Riley's murderer just deported, or are you happy that they had a trial and got convicted?
Deported.
That's crazy. So you trust Bukele? You trust this El Salvadorian guy? Yeah. Wait. Just be clear. You trust El Salvador to keep this guy in jail? This guy committed a crime on U.S. soil, and you trust El Salvador? You trust El Salvador? Yeah. Here's the problem. What happens if Bukele decides this guy goes free? What happens if they overthrow Bukele?
I got it, guys. I figured it out.
So in this country, there's justice for crimes, and what you're talking about is injustice. It's for the purposes of expediting something, but it's not true justice. For example,
I actually disagree with you. I think what you're saying isn't justice, because what you are doing is creating a defense for people who had no right to be here in the first place, so that taxpayers have to spend money on someone who's not going to be here after this. And if you look at the case of Abrego Garcia, this guy. What was the due process that was failed? He was supposed to get what's called a USCIS official interview.
False.
To make it, this is under the law. This is actually the codified law.
It's
it's in the law.
8 CFR.
I don't have my phone on me.
So it's 8 CFR.
The withholding of deportation
sub
law
08
states that if an individual receives a USCIS interview that determines the circumstances of their home country has changed, they can be deported. Withholding is void.
8 CFR 224. Look it up. So you go to sub F on that statute, or it's a regulation. It is not the province of USCIS to determine whether someone's going to be,
you have to go back to the immigration judge.
Yeah, you have to go to IJ judge. Right. You have to go to immigration judge.
It would be immaterial.
Pull up the law on withholding of deportation, which explicitly states that a USCIS interview can determine that the circumstances of their home country has changed. I don't have my phone on me.
That's affirmatively. We're talking. So this is the problem. This is defensive relief. And so in the immigration context, you can apply affirmatively to USCIS, or you can be put before an EOIR judge.
Then I'll say this. I concede. Let's bring him back, and the first thing that happens when he walks in the door is they turn him back
So
around.
I just want to be sure. You concede that it was unjust and he should be brought back and then put in removal proceedings?
No. Stop playing games.
That's what you just said.
Stop.
Pisco's so desperate to get a win here that he didn't even listen to what Tim Pool had to say. Tim Pool wasn't literally conceding the point. He was just saying, okay, fine. He was making a point, but not the point that Pisco was thinking he made, was that he was just saying, okay, yeah, fine, let him go, and then just let him cross back over here. Tim Pool was being facetious. But Pisco, so desperate for a point, not really paying attention, heat of the moment type of deal, he didn't really catch that. So now he thinks Tim Pool's conceding.
In games, I am saying for the sake of argument, I will no contest your argument and say the end result.
That's pussy shit. Don't no contest an argument.
Actually, take the argument. I think it's fair.
That's you engaging in semantics to change the argument I made.
That's pussy shit. Why don't you actually engage with the argument? Why don't you actually engage with the argument and not say, oh, I don't know because I'm fucking backed into a corner. Now I'm just going to say I don't really care.
What this guy does.
He's not
is he plays semantic games with the ideas being presented so that he can try and finagle out of when he's backed into a corner.
So how am I backed into? So I understand the proposition to be,
Because
is the deportation unjust?
The end result,
I understand the proposition to
the
be.
end result of Abrego Garcia's return to this country is immediate expedited removal.
So
What the fuck is the point?
So I
Waste
heard
our
you.
fucking time.
So I just want to be clear. I understood the proposition. That you laid. I listened very carefully. Said, is it just and should it be brought back? And you just said, okay, I guess he should be. It was unjust. He should be brought back.
The point is, it's called a moot point when you're
the debate
arguing
proposition
something
is a moot point?
immaterial to the end result of what we're trying to
The debate
accomplish.
proposition is a moot point. I just want to hear you say
You
that.
see, you're playing semantic games again. You're
Oh, we're
playing
not.
semantic games again.
I also heard everyone else said this is debate. Come to the arena, debate. You guys are coping. You know you can. So
we
just
are
bite the
debating.
bullet. Bite the bullet.
Can I say
wait,
something? Can I
Let's
say
get
something?
Will. Let's get Will.
I supposedly am debating here, right? I don't even remember that was supposed to happen. So the resolution was
All right,
supposed
let him
to
talk.
be,
Let him talk.
The resolution was supposed to be, is the deportation profoundly unjust, right? And there's a reason for that adverb, right? It's because there is a mild injustice that happens whenever the law is not followed, right? So, unless there is like some dramatic reason to not follow the law in a particular instance, there's usually a mild injustice. I think that the more interesting, and the funny thing is the Trump administration has conceded to this since the beginning of the filings, right? The Trump administration conceded from the outset that this was administrative error, that they should have gotten the withholding of removal lifted before they removed him to El Salvador. I don't think that's the most interesting question because it's a question that like even the Trump administration agrees to for the most part. I think the question is this a profound injustice? And I think the answer to that is obviously no, for the reasons I laid out at the beginning, right? I think I'd like to actually hear your argument for why this is a profound injustice and not merely a mild one.
And I want to make one little point though, Bisco. When it comes to Abrego Garcia, and I personally think this is an isolated incident, but even if you are right, I'll concede that I think, I ideologically, even though you and I are different on this subject, I do feel like that he didn't get his, due process. And I had to debate this on college campuses. It is hard. But in this instance with Abrego Garcia, I think it's isolated, and I don't think that it's a massive problem. That's what I think about this, but I do concede.
They go entwined. This question is like, who really cares, right? Who really cares? One guy, whatever.
Well, it's kind of like you're George Floyd. They're making this guy to be like a hero, and it's one incident, and it's bad, but he's not a hero, and he still, beat his wife. So it just kind of sucks that even though you are right in this instance, I don't want to be like the left because they say that the means, the ends justify the means, and I don't want to be like that. I don't want to break the law to get the outcome that we want.
So I want to be clear. I'm going to give you a hot take. This is worse than the George Floyd situation. This is worse than the George Floyd situation, and I'll tell you why.
Okay, wow. Yeah, one's in the chat. In the chat.
Thanks for watching. You meant stupid take. That's what you meant to say, Pisco. This is worse than the George Floyd. Okay. Listen. If I wanted to be lefty about this, if I want to look this through my lefty spectacles, I would say George Floyd was worse than Abrego Garcia because at least Abrego Garcia is still alive. He's still alive, and he looks like he's fine. When that one Democrat guy went and freaking visited him, he looks like he was doing fine. George Floyd's not alive anymore, so there's that. But regardless, here's why Pisco is full of crap. And listen, I think what Alex Stein said at the end, I think was perfectly said. And I like that they also differentiate, that Will Chamberlain differentiated it enough to where it's like, well, this is the mild between the profound. And I like to see Pisco's response of why it's profound. But here's why Pisco, why in the end, like it's why he's stupid to fight on this hill. And not just him, but all these lefties. Do you think Trump's the first administration to make an error when deporting people? Do you think this administration is the first one ever that when deporting, trying to get illegal immigrants out of this country to have made an error? Like, no. Obama made errors. George Bush made errors. You could go back to heck, I remember even in the late 80s or early 90s, there was a movie called Born in East LA starring Cheech Marin that was based off of him getting wrongly deported wrongly deported to Mexico. He's a Mexican American. I haven't seen that movie in forever, so I don't remember the exact why he got sent back. But basically, he mistakenly got sent back. And the movie was about him trying to get back to America. So even then it was like a thing. Or else, so even then it was a thing. I know it's a movie, it's not real life, but obviously real life stuff had to have been going on around that time in order to make a whole movie about it. So why is Pisco? So why is, for one guy, Abrego Garcia, who honestly looks like he's MS-13, they have a lot of evidence that he's MS-13. If he looks like a quack, if he looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, is what they say. Why is Pisco and all these lefties dying on this hill for him, as if this is the first time that a mistake or an error has ever been made in deportation? Again, if Pisco was coming on here, and this is how you know that the dude's not genuine about this, is not coming from some kind of principled or moral stances. If Pisco were to come out and be like, you know what, I'm sick and tired of our government deporting people, making these errors. If you're going to deport illegal immigrants, like, you have to make sure that your shit's right, or else you're going to get you're going to accidentally deport American citizens, and I don't want to see that happen. People who have the right to be here. You know, but he's not arguing that. He's using this argument, and even in this debate, you could see it. Maybe not in this particular clip, but in this debate, he was using this as another means to show why Donald Trump is an authoritarian, how this is going to go to American citizens. If it starts with this, then how is it not going to, the slippery slope, go down to American citizens that he doesn't like or disagrees with? He's using this not from a principled stance, but just to show further why why Orange Man bad, pretty much. Why Orange Man is bad. And that's the truth of it. That's where this all stems from. So why, I want to say I even asked him this during our debate, but I'll continue asking this. Why should we take Pisco seriously? I even said, it's like, you guys have been crying wolf for the last 8 years or so. And he was like, well, I feel like the wolf has been chewing on my leg and for the last 8 years or so, and no one's been listening. And I told him, I was like, of course you feel that way, Pisco. Of course you feel that way. But what did you guys think about this? Leave a comment in the comment section below. Give this video a like if you liked it. And if you really liked it, please consider subscribing to my channel. You'll be helping me out a lot. If you want to see more debates, if you want to see more Pisco, then I got some content on the screen for you that I think you'll enjoy.